My name is Rosie Carter. I'm 27, and until a few weeks ago, I thought my life story fit on a single neat line. Born in Phoenix, Arizona, moved to New Jersey as a baby, only child, loving parents, real estate agent, good at numbers, good at reading people, not great at feelings. Simple. The day everything cracked open started like any other Saturday. A crowded open house, the smell of coffee and fresh paint. My fake, "this place could be your home" smile glued to my face. I was locking up after a showing, juggling my laptop bag, a stack of flyers, and my keys, when I saw her across the street. She was standing by the bus stop, wrapped in a shaggy brown coat that had lost its shape years ago. Her hair was gray and matted in places, pulled back with a rubber band. Her jeans were too big, cinched at the waist with a piece of string. She looked like every unhoused person I'd ever hurried past in New York or Philly, faded, invisible, like the city had scraped her edges away. Except she was staring straight at me. Not at the house, not at the for sale sign, not at the busy street. At me. Our eyes met, and she flinched, like she'd been burned. Then she whispered something I couldn't hear and started crossing the road. I sighed internally. Please don't ask for money, I thought. My wallet's in my car. She stopped in front of me, close enough that I could see the lines etched deep around her mouth and the way her eyes shone, too bright and too wet. She opened her mouth, and instead of "got $1," she said, "They took you from me." I laughed, actually laughed, a short, awkward exhale that floated between us like a bad joke. Excuse me?" Her lower lip trembled. "My baby," she said, voice breaking. "My girl, they took you from me." Oh, one of those. "Look, I'm sorry," I said, stepping sideways toward my car. "I think you've got the wrong person." Her hand shot out, fingers closing around my wrist. Her grip was surprisingly strong. "I would know you anywhere," she whispered. "Those eyes, your chin, you're my Abigail." I froze. "Abigail? Nope." "Ma'am, I think you're confused," I said, pulling my arm back. "My name is Rosie, and I have to go. I'm late." It was a lie. I wasn't late. I just wanted to be inside my car with the doors locked and the world making sense again. She took half a step toward me, her voice rising. "They told me you died," she said. "They made me sign papers. I'm sorry," I cut in, a little sharper than I intended. "But I'm not your daughter." And then I did what I always do when something feels too big, too messy, too emotional. I ran. I got into my car, slammed the door, and practically peeled out of the driveway, pretending I couldn't see her in the rearview mirror, standing motionless on the sidewalk, watching me go. By the time I turned onto the main road, I had already filed her away in my head. Delusional, probably mentally ill, definitely not my problem. But that night, in bed, in the quiet, her words looped in my mind. "You're my Abigail. They took you from me." I didn't sleep well. The second time I saw her, it was Sunday afternoon outside the grocery store. I'd half forgotten about her. I had spent the morning answering emails, scrolling listings, and texting my mom about what kind of dessert she wanted for next week's family dinner. Mom responded, "Surprise me." I replied with the smiling emoji, "Dangerous request, but okay." I was loading a bag of oranges into my trunk when I heard someone say softly, "Abigail?" My spine stiffened. I turned. She was standing 3 parking spaces away, the same coat, the same tired face, the same hopeful, desperate eyes. There's this moment when your brain tries to decide whether to fight, run, or pretend everything is normal. Mine chose the third option. "My name is Rosie," I said, as calmly as I could. "I told you yesterday. You're mistaken." She shook her head slowly. "They even changed your name," she whispered. Of course they did. A bubble of irritation rose in my chest. "Listen," I said, "I'm sure you've gone through something terrible, but I know my parents. I know my life. I was born in Phoenix, Arizona. We moved when I was a baby. I've heard that story 1,000,000 times." I didn't mention the part where I'd never heard my birth story. Not really, just the summary. "Oh, it was a difficult time, honey, not something we like to talk about." Phoenix, the woman repeated like she was tasting the word. St. Augustine Medical Center? My heart skipped. I hadn't said the hospital name. Every city has a St. something hospital, I said quickly. It doesn't mean anything. She took a step closer, searching my face. You were born in room 407, she whispered. The wallpaper was peeling near the window. The air conditioner rattled all night. I remember the sound. I remember holding you. You had a tiny freckle. Her gaze dropped to my neck. Right there, under your jaw. A small, reddish-brown freckle lived there. I'd seen it 1,000 times in mirrors, never thinking about it. The world wobbled, just a little. Lots of people have freckles, I snapped. You're guessing. She flinched, then pressed her lips together like she was physically holding back more words. I'm sorry, she said finally in a small voice. I didn't mean to scare you. You're not scaring me, I lied. She must have seen through it, because her eyes grew even sadder. I'll leave you alone, she murmured. But I walk here most days. If you ever want to talk, I'll be around. I drove home with my jaw clenched so hard my teeth ached. That night I didn't sleep at all. I stared at my ceiling and replayed every time I had noticed I didn't quite match my parents. Their pale blonde hair, my darker brown. Their blue eyes, my hazel. Their tall, lanky frames, my shorter, curvier one. Growing up, whenever I'd ask, my mom would smile and say, "Genetics are funny, honey," and then change the subject. I had never thought about it twice, because why would I? The third time I saw her, I almost pretended not to. It was Wednesday. I'd closed early after a client canceled a showing, and I decided to walk instead of drive, trying to clear my head. When I turned the corner by the park, there she was, sitting on a bench, hands wrapped around a paper cup, as if it held the last of the world's warmth. She saw me before I could turn away. Our eyes met. She stood up but didn't move closer. Please, she said softly. Just let me look at you for a few minutes and I'll disappear. I promise. Something inside me cracked. It was the way she said it. Not like a threat, not like a manipulation, like a plea from someone already used to losing. Before I could overthink it, I heard myself say, "Do you want real coffee? Not whatever that is." Her eyes widened. "You'd have a coffee with me?" "Don't make a big deal out of it," I muttered, already walking toward the café on the corner. "It's cold, and I have questions." She hurried after me, clutching her coat tighter around herself like it might fall apart if she let go. Inside, the warmth and hum of conversation wrapped around us. I ordered a latte for myself and a black coffee for her. She asked for it that way, quick and automatic, like she'd ordered black coffee her entire life. We sat by the window. Up close, her face was not just old. It was tired, worn, but her eyes were clear. No cloudiness, no drunken haze, no wild, delusional flicker. Just pain, and a sharpness that made me uncomfortable. "What's your name?" I asked. "Imogen," she said. "Imogen Hayes." "Okay, Imogen," I said, wrapping my hands around my cup. "You said I'm your daughter. Explain." She stared at me like she was absorbing every line on my face. Then she took a shuddering breath. "I was 19 when I had you," she began. "Alone. Your father left when he found out I was pregnant. I worked 2 jobs, rented a tiny room in a house near the hospital. I didn't have much, but I had you. That was enough." Karen was in the bed next to mine. She was older than me, pretty, polished. Her husband wore a gold watch. She was pregnant, too. We talked a little. She said they'd been trying for years, that this baby was a miracle. The name landed between us like a stone. Karen. I swallowed. "Karen? What?" "Karen Carter," she said. My chest tightened. That was my mother's name. Imogen kept talking like a dam had cracked. "We both went into labor around the same time," she said. "I remember the noise, the rush of nurses, your first cry. I held you. I counted your fingers and toes. I called you Abigail. It just felt right when I looked at you." Karen's room was quiet. Too quiet. I saw her husband through the curtain once, his face white and tight. I thought maybe their baby was just taking longer. She stared down into her coffee, fingers trembling. The next day, Karen asked if she could hold you. Imogen's lips twisted faintly. She said she just wanted to feel a healthy baby in her arms. I was tired. My body hurt. I went to get some milk the nurse had left in the hall to warm it up. It took maybe 10 minutes. Her voice went hoarse. When I came back, your bed was empty. The cafe noise receded. All I could hear was my own breathing and the faint clatter of a spoon behind the counter. I screamed, she whispered. I called for nurses. A doctor came, the one with the gray mustache. He looked confused at first, then annoyed. He said, "Miss Hayes, we already talked about this. Your baby died during birth." She closed her eyes, tears escaping down the deeply lined skin of her cheeks. I told him he was lying. I told him I held you. I knew your cry. But they had papers, forms, a death certificate. They said grief was making me imagine things. The nurses wouldn't look at me. The police came. They checked my chart and said there was no record of you being alive. That doesn't make sense, I said quietly, my logical brain fighting for air. How could they change records overnight? Money, she said simply. Influence, desperation. I didn't understand all of it then. I just knew my arms were empty and everyone was acting like I was crazy. She took a shaky sip of coffee like it might anchor her. I tried to find Karen, she continued, but her bed was empty too. The nurse said she checked out early. No forwarding address, nothing. Her eyes met mine, blazing suddenly. A month later, I saw them, she said, in a park near my room. Karen and her husband, and a baby. You were in a stroller wrapped in a yellow blanket? I knew it was you, a mother knows. My breathing got shallow. I ran to them, she said. I shouted their names. Karen's husband pulled the stroller away. Karen turned and saw me and looked terrified. He said, "You're harassing us, lady. We don't know you." I tried to grab the stroller. People stared. Someone threatened to call the cops. They left in a hurry. The next day, when I went back to their building, they were gone, moved out, just like that. She spread her hands helplessly. I went to the police again. They said I had no proof. All the documents said my baby died. They told me to get counseling, to move on. And you didn't, I said. And I didn't, she agreed. I worked, saved money, hired private detectives whenever I could afford it. Most took my money and gave me nothing. One found a trail, new identities in New Jersey, a house, a baby girl with your birthday. He lost the trail again, but it was enough. I moved here. I took whatever work I could. I watched. I waited. Her eyes filled with tears again. And then, a few weeks ago, I saw you outside a house with a "for sale" sign, she whispered. I thought my heart would stop. You walk like me. You frown like me. You bite your lip when you're thinking. I knew. I stared at her. Part of me wanted to stand up and walk out, to call her crazy, delusional, obsessed, to remind myself that my parents were good people, kind people, who made pancakes on Saturdays and sent me good luck texts before big showings. Another part of me was taking quiet, ruthless notes. She knew my mom's name, my birth city, the hospital, the approximate room, the pattern of my freckle. Do you have any proof? I asked, my voice sharper than I meant. She flinched. No papers, she said. I had some, years ago, but I moved so many times. Things got lost, stolen. I only have what's in here. She tapped her chest. And in here. She touched her temple. Do you expect me to blow up my entire life because you have feelings? I demanded. The second the words left my mouth, guilt hit me. But I didn't take them back. She shook her head slowly. I don't expect anything, she said. I know how this sounds. I know what the world thinks of me. I just couldn't leave without trying, without letting you know that somewhere out there was a girl who never stopped looking for you. The cafe felt suddenly too small. I can't do this, I muttered, standing up. My parents are good people. They love me. They would never. Good people do terrible things when they're desperate, she said quietly. I froze. It was the kind of sentence my mom might say in a movie, not about herself. I shook my head. Please don't ever come near me again, I said, my voice icy to cover the tremor. I'm sorry for what you went through, but I'm not your daughter. My name is Rosie. Her face crumpled. Okay, she whispered. If that's what you want, I'll go. I walked out without looking back, but her words followed me home like a shadow. All week I moved through my life like a ghost wearing my own skin. I showed houses, I signed papers, I made small talk. At night, I lay awake, my mind replaying the café like a courtroom scene, stopping on tiny details, questioning them. Phoenix, St. Augustine Medical Center, Karen Carter, bribed staff, the missing birth story. The one thing I could never shake was how sure she looked when she said my name, Abigail, as if she'd carried it in her heart for almost 3 decades. On Saturday, I drove to my parents' house. I told myself I was going because Mom had asked for dinner together, because Dad liked to grill on weekends, because normal people see their parents and don't think about stolen babies. But really, I went because I needed to see them, to look at their faces and feel, definitively, that this was insane. Mom greeted me at the door with a flower-streaked apron and a hug that smelled like garlic and sugar. "There's my girl," she said. "You look tired. Long week?" "Something like that," I said. Dad waved a spatula from the backyard. "Hey, kiddo, got your favorite sausages on?" We had dinner. We laughed. Dad told the same story about the time I tried to sell lemonade in December. Mom corrected his details. It felt like every other family evening, except my heart counted every beat between their words, waiting for some crack to show. When Mom went to get dessert, I followed her down the hall toward the bathroom. In their bedroom, the vanity table sat by the window, just as it had for years. The hairbrush lay next to the mirror, strands of Mom's pale hair caught in its bristles. My hands were steady as I picked up the brush. I told myself it was insane. I also told myself I couldn't live with "what if" rotting in my chest. I pulled out a few hairs, wrapped them quickly in a tissue, and slipped it into my purse. My reflection in the mirror looked back at me. Hazel eyes, dark lashes, that freckle under my jaw. "Rosie, everything okay?" Mom called from the kitchen. "Yeah," I lied, voice too bright. "Just washing my hands." My friend Nate works in a lab. We'd met in college chemistry, bonded over terrible group projects, and kept in loose touch. He owed me a favor for covering half his rent one summer. On Monday, I texted, "Hey, weird question. Can your lab run a basic DNA relationship test? Discreetly?" He sent back a joke first. "Nate. LOL, what are you, on Maury now?" Me. "I'm serious, Nate." There was a pause. Then, "Nate. Yeah. We can. You okay?" Me. "Just curious about something. I'll bring the samples." I labeled 2 small envelopes. R for me, K for Mom. Cheek swab for myself, hair for her. When I handed them to Nate outside the lab, my hands shook for the first time. "Rosie," he said, searching my face. "Seriously, are you okay?" "I will be," I said. "Whatever this says, I'll be fine." Another lie. "Results in about a week?" I added. "Less," he said. "I'll text you." Waiting was worse than any horror movie. I went through the motions, but my world had shrunk to 2 possible futures, both unbearable. Either the test said Karen was my mother and I'd have to accept that Imogen was a deeply broken woman stuck in a story that wasn't true. Or the test said she wasn't my mother. And then I'd have to accept that my entire life might be built on a crime. 3 days later, Nate texted. "Nate, got your results. Can you talk?" My lungs forgot how to function. Me. "Just tell me. Please." There was a longer pause this time. "Nate, I'd really rather tell you in person." My heart plummeted. Me. "I can't. Please, Nate." When his message came, I had to read it 3 times before my brain would process the words. "Nate, there is 0% probability of a biological parent-child relationship between you and Sample K." The room spun. I sat down on my kitchen floor because my knees didn't feel reliable anymore. 0. Not low, not inconclusive. 0. A sound came out of me that I didn't recognize. Half laugh, half sob. I pressed my forehead to my knees and tried to breathe. Images flipped through my mind like someone shuffling cards too fast. Mom wiping my scraped knee, Mom braiding my hair, Mom shouting from the stands at my high school graduation, Mom crying when I moved into my first apartment. Mom who was not my mother. I cried until my eyes ached and my throat burned. And underneath the grief, under the shock, a new emotion slowly unfurled. Guilt. I had told Imogen to go away. I had called her story crazy. I had chosen the comfort of my lie over the pain of her truth. What if she had been telling the truth all along? What if I had told my real mother to disappear? I found her 2 days later near the park bench where we'd had coffee. She saw me coming and turned her face away, shoulders hunching like she expected a blow. "Imogen," I called. She flinched. "I said I'd leave you alone," she murmured without looking at me. "You don't have to." "I got a DNA test," I blurted. That made her look up. Her eyes were wary, rimmed red like she'd been crying for years. "I shouldn't have told you," she began. "It was about my mom," I interrupted. "Karen, the woman who raised me." Silence stretched between us, taut as wire. "And?" she whispered. "She's not my biological mother," I said. The world narrowed to her face. For a moment it was blank. Then it crumbled, like a building finally giving way after an earthquake. She sat down hard on the bench, the breath leaving her in a ragged sob. "Oh, God," she choked. "Oh, God, I knew it. I knew, but nobody ever. They kept telling me I was crazy, and I started to wonder if maybe I was. But I knew you were real. I knew you were somewhere." Her hands shook violently. I sat beside her without thinking, close enough that our shoulders almost touched. "I'm sorry," I said. My voice broke on the word. "I'm so sorry I told you to stay away. I was scared. It felt like you were trying to steal my life." "You had your life," she whispered, staring straight ahead. "You had a home, a family. I didn't want to steal it. I just wanted to see you, to know you were okay." The wind rustled dry leaves at our feet. "I want another test," I said. "With you, if you're willing. I need to know for sure." She looked at me then, really looked, with a cautious trembling hope that made my throat ache. "You'd do that?" she asked. I nodded. "Yes, I already have a contact at a lab. They'll be discreet." I hesitated. If you don't want to, I'll understand, but I'll do anything," she said quickly. "Anything. Spit in a cup, give blood, whatever they want. I've been waiting 27 years for someone to take me seriously." Her smile, when it came, was small and broken, but real. It was the first time I saw my own smile on another face. The lab felt too clean, too bright, too clinical for something so messy. Nate had agreed to keep things quiet. He didn't ask questions. He just handed us the forms, the sterile swabs, the little plastic tubes. Imogen's hands trembled as she swabbed the inside of her cheek. I noticed for the first time that her fingers were long and slender, like mine. Her nails were short and bitten down. "You okay?" I asked. She gave a shaky laugh. "This is the closest I've ever been to you in a building with fluorescent lighting," she said. "So, better than I've been in years." I almost smiled. When we handed the tubes back to Nate, his gaze flicked between us, something like understanding dawning in his eyes. "I'll rush this," he said quietly. "Should have results in a couple of days?" The next 48 hours were a blur of half sleep and too much coffee. I went to work. I forgot what I said to clients 5 minutes after I said it. Twice I called an address wrong. My brain was already somewhere else. Back in Phoenix, in a hospital room I didn't remember, with 2 women and 1 baby and a decision that had rewritten all our lives. On the 3rd day, my phone buzzed while I was sitting in my parked car, staring at a listing sheet without seeing it. "Nate, you free?" My throat tightened. "Me. Sort of. Just tell me, please." There was a long pause this time. My palms were sweating. Then, "Nate, 99.9999% probability of a biological parent-child relationship between you and sample 1. My vision blurred. I read it once, twice, a third time, 99.9999%. I thought I would feel the world tilt, crash, split open. Instead, everything went very, very still. Like the moment right after a car accident, when your brain hasn't caught up yet and all you hear is your own heartbeat. I don't know how long I sat there staring at the text. Eventually, I wiped my face. I hadn't realized I was crying until the tears dripped onto my hands, and typed, "Me. Thank you." Then I called Imogen. She answered on the second ring, voice cautious. "Hello?" "It's me," I said. My voice sounded strange, like it belonged to someone older. "It's Rosie." I hesitated on the name. For the first time in my life, it felt slightly off, like a dress that didn't fit quite right. "Did they?" she began. "Yes," I said. "They did. It's you. You're my mother." Silence. Then a sound came through the phone, raw and gut-deep, like an animal that had been wounded and finally pulled free of a trap. I pressed the phone tighter to my ear. "I'm here," I said softly. "I prayed for this," she whispered. "Every night. I didn't know who I was praying to, but I did it anyway. I wanted you to know I didn't leave you. I didn't give you away. They took you." Her breathing hitched. "I believe you," I said. And for the first time, I realized that was true. I believed her. We met at the café again that afternoon. She looked different to me now, though nothing about her had changed. Same coat, same tired face, same hands wrapped around the coffee cup like it was a lifeline. The difference was in my own gaze. I saw my cheekbones in her face, the shape of my eyes, the way she tilted her head when she listened. "How do we do this?" I asked, because I didn't know any other way to start. She laughed, a watery sound. "I have no idea," she said. "I'm not exactly an expert at anything, really. I don't have a house to show you. I don't have a college fund. She looked down at her hands. "I have stories, and a heart that's been waiting for you for a very long time." I swallowed the lump in my throat. "I have questions," I said. "A lot of them." "Ask anything," she said. I wanted to ask everything. Why didn't you kidnap me back? Why didn't you burn that hospital down? How did you keep going when everyone called you crazy? How did you survive knowing I was out there somewhere? Instead, I asked quietly, what was I like in those 3 days? Her face softened in a way that made my chest ache. "You were loud," she said, smiling. "You cried with your whole body. The nurses complained. I thought it was the most beautiful sound I'd ever heard. You liked being held upright, not cradled. Like you wanted to see everything even then." I laughed through my tears. "That tracks," I said. "I've never been good at lying down and letting life happen to me." "You had this little crease right here," she added, touching the space between her brows. "It showed up when you were concentrating. You still get it." I touched my forehead instinctively. The crease deepened under my fingers. We talked until the light outside shifted from afternoon gold to early evening blue. She told me about the jobs she'd had: waitress, cleaner, cashier, night shift at a factory. About the times she'd hit rock bottom. About the therapist who had gently suggested she let go of the fantasy baby, not understanding there was nothing fantasy about it. I told her about school and my career and my small, quiet apartment, about my fear of dogs and my love for thunderstorms. We were strangers who knew each other's hearts better than some people who grew up in the same room. When we finally stepped outside, the air had turned crisp. "We don't have to decide everything right now," I said. "But I want you in my life. I don't know how or in what capacity or what that means exactly. But I don't want to pretend you don't exist. Not anymore." Her eyes filled again, but this time the tears sat in them like light, not just sorrow. "I don't need to be your only mother," she said hoarsely. "I just want to be your Imogen." I smiled, shaky but genuine. I think I can handle having two moms, I said. I just don't know what to do with the fact that one of them stole me. The word tasted bitter, and that was the part we hadn't touched yet. Karen and my father. The people who had raised me, loved me, fed me, comforted me, lied to me. That night I sat on my couch with the lights off, phone in my hand, staring at my parents' contact names on the screen. Mom and Dad, I could call them. I could drive over, I could walk in, lay the DNA reports on the table and watch their faces break. Every time I imagined it, my stomach turned. Because here's the worst part, the part I feel guilty even thinking. I still love them. The love doesn't vanish just because a lab report says 0% probability. The memory of Mom sitting by my bed when I had the flu, singing softly under her breath, doesn't evaporate. The sound of Dad cheering when I closed my first big sale doesn't fade. If they stole me, when they stole me, they did something unforgivable. But they didn't raise me like a stolen object. They raised me like a daughter. And now I'm stuck between two truths that don't fit in the same room. Imogen is my mother. Karen is my mother. One lost me. One took me. Both love me. Where does that leave me? On my coffee table, the two folded lab reports sit side by side. One says 0%. The other says 99.9999%. My whole life reduced to percentages. I pick them up, one in each hand, like scales that refuse to balance. In the darkness of my apartment, I whisper my two names, testing them. Rosie. Abigail. One tastes like pancakes on Saturday mornings, like curling up on the couch between my parents to watch old movies, like my first day of school and my first heartbreak and the key to the house I grew up in. The other tastes like hospital disinfectant and yellow blankets and a 19-year-old girl in a noisy room counting tiny fingers and toes. I don't know which one is mine. Maybe both, maybe neither. Maybe. So here I am, 27 years old, real estate agent, daughter of a woman who never stopped looking for me, and daughter of a woman who lied to keep me. I'm supposed to be good at helping people find homes, but suddenly I don't know where mine is. I haven't called my parents yet. I haven't confronted them. I carry this secret in my chest like a second heartbeat, louder every day. Part of me wants to drive to their house right now, slam the reports on the kitchen table, and demand the truth. Part of me wants to protect the version of them I've always known, the kind, loving parents who would never, ever do something like this. And another part of me, a small but growing part, wants to sit with Imogen again tomorrow, listen to more stories about who I was for those 3 days, and try to stitch the two lives together into something new. I don't know what the right move is, so I'm asking you. If you were me, if you found out at 27 that the woman you call mom isn't your biological mother, that she may have taken you from a 19-year-old girl in a hospital room, what would you do? Would you confront her? Would you forgive her? Would you walk away? Would you call yourself by the name she gave you? Or the name they stole from someone else? My name is Rosie? Or maybe it's Abigail. Right now, I honestly don't know. But I know this. For the first time in my life, I have the truth. And the next step, whatever it is, will decide who I really am.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and explore our channel for more love, betrayal, and redemption tales.